My name is Emily Harper, and I'm 28 years old. Los Angeles is my home, a city of dreams and heartbreak, where the sun shines too bright to hide the shadows. I'm a nurse, or at least I was, with soft hazel eyes and a smile that patients said could calm a storm. But behind that smile lies a story, a wound so deep it nearly took everything from me. This is the story of a love that almost killed me, a betrayal that broke me, and the truth that brought me back to life. If you're reading this, I hope you'll stay until the end. And if it moves you, let me know where you're reading from. Every story deserves to be heard. It began 2 years ago, in the chaotic hum of Cedars-Sinai Medical Center's ER. I was 26, a new nurse working night shifts, my scrubs stained with coffee and my heart full of hope. Los Angeles was a city of possibilities, and I was chasing mine, saving lives, one patient at a time. That's when I met Julian Vega, the son of a patient I was caring for, a 60-year-old woman recovering from a heart attack. Julian was 30, with dark curls that fell over his forehead and eyes that sparkled like the Pacific at dusk. He was a musician, a guitarist who played gigs in Hollywood's dive bars, dreaming of a record deal. He'd sit by his mother's bedside, strumming softly, his voice a velvet hum that made the sterile room feel alive. "You're an angel, Emily," he'd say, flashing a grin that made my knees weak. I laughed it off, but his words stuck, like lyrics to a song I couldn't stop humming. He started bringing me gifts, a daisy tucked into my locker, a handwritten note with a lyric he'd written for me. "Your heart's a rhythm I can't forget." We'd talk for hours after my shifts, sharing cheap coffee in the hospital cafeteria. He told me about his dreams, how he'd make it big and buy a house in the hills. I told him about mine, how I wanted to open a free clinic for kids in Skid Row. "We're dreamers, Em," he'd say. "You and me, we're gonna change the world." 6 months later, we were dating. Julian moved into my tiny Echo Park apartment, his guitar case leaning against my couch. He wrote songs for me, played them under the stars at Griffith Park. Every note felt like a promise. Within a year, he proposed on a Santa Monica beach at sunset, the waves crashing as he slipped a simple silver ring on my finger. "You're my muse, Emily," he whispered. I believed him. I believed in us. The wedding was set for June, a small ceremony in a Venice courtyard. I spent my days juggling ER shifts and planning, my nights lost in Julian's music. But something shifted in those final weeks. He'd come home late, smelling of whiskey and cigarette smoke, claiming he was networking with producers. His phone buzzed constantly, and he'd angle the screen away when I glanced over. "Just work, babe," he'd say, his smile too quick, too sharp. I ignored the signs. Love makes you blind, doesn't it? But 3 days before the wedding, I found a bank statement in his jacket pocket while doing laundry. My account, my savings, built from years of overtime, was drained. Over $50,000 gone, replaced by loan documents in my name, signed with a signature that wasn't mine. My heart raced as I dug deeper, finding emails on his laptop, left open in his rush to leave for a gig. They were to a woman named Carla, his manager. "She's clueless. Carla. Once we're married, her money's ours. Meet me at the studio tonight." A heart emoji followed, each pixel a stab to my chest. I confronted him that night. He was in our kitchen, tuning his guitar, his face calm as ever. "Julian, who's Carla?" I asked, holding the bank statement. His eyes flickered, but he laughed. "You're overreacting. She's just helping with the album." I pressed, showing him the emails. His charm melted into cold fury. "You went through my stuff? You don't trust me?" He grabbed his keys and stormed out, leaving me with a sinking dread. Desperate for answers, I drove to his studio, a rundown warehouse in downtown LA. Through a grimy window, I saw them, Julian and a woman, her arms around him, laughing. My vision blurred with tears. I got back in my car, my hands shaking, and sped toward home. The freeway lights blurred as my mind spiraled. He was married. Carla was his wife. They'd used me, my money, my trust. I didn't see the truck swerving into my lane. The crash was a blur of metal and pain. Horns blared, glass shattered, and then darkness. I woke up 6 months later in a hospital bed, the beep of monitors my only company. My parents were there, their faces etched with worry. "Emily, you're awake," my mom sobbed, clutching my hand. But when I tried to speak, nothing came out. The doctors called it expressive, aphasia, a brain injury from the crash that stole my ability to form words. I could think, feel, understand, but my voice was gone, trapped in a body that felt like a stranger's. The crash had fractured my skull, broken 3 ribs, and left me in a coma. Julian never visited. My parents told me he'd vanished, leaving a note, "I'm sorry. It wasn't meant to be." They didn't know about Carla, the loans, or the betrayal. I couldn't tell them. My words were locked away, my pain a silent scream. Rehab was grueling. Speech therapy, physical therapy, endless days of relearning how to move, how to live. I saw pity in the nurses' eyes, the same ones I'd worked with. But one face stood out, a firefighter named Lucas Grant, the man who'd pulled me from the wreckage. He'd visit during his off hours, bringing me crossword puzzles or just sitting quietly, his presence steady like an anchor. "You're a fighter, Emily," he'd say, his blue eyes kind but guarded. I wanted to thank him, to ask why he cared, but my voice stayed silent. Months passed. I relearned words slowly, starting with simple sounds. Yes, no, home. Each syllable was a victory, a brick in the wall I was rebuilding. By spring, I could string sentences together, though my speech was halting, fragile. I returned to Cedars-Sinai, not as a patient but as a nurse again, working part-time in the pediatric ward. The kids didn't care about my stumbles. Their smiles gave me strength. One evening, while charting at the nurses' station, I overheard a TV in the waiting room. Julian's face flashed across the screen. A music video for his new single, Heart's Rhythm. My blood froze. The lyrics were mine, written in a notebook I'd kept in our apartment. He'd stolen my words, my pain, and turned them into his ticket to fame. The video showed him with Carla, her arm around him, both of them basking in LA's neon glow. Rage burned through me, but I wasn't the naive Emily anymore. I needed to reclaim my story. I tracked Julian's tour schedule online. He was performing at the Troubadour in West Hollywood that weekend. I remembered his habits, how he kept a lucky guitar polish in his case for pre-show rituals. An idea formed, dark but precise. At a hardware store, I bought a tube of industrial adhesive, clear and fast setting, and mixed it with his polish, ensuring it looked identical. I knew a stagehand at the Troubadour, a friend from my ER days who owed me a favor. She swapped the bottles without question. The night of the show, I watched from the back of the crowd, my heart pounding. Julian took the stage, his charm intoxicating the audience. But when he opened his guitar case, the adhesive had fused the strings to the fretboard. He tried to play, but the notes were a garbled mess. His frustration broadcast to a jeering crowd. Someone yelled, "Thief!" A plant I'd tipped off with an anonymous email about his stolen lyrics. The show collapsed, and social media erupted with clips of his failure. Hashtags like Dark Julian Vega fraud trending by morning. I didn't stop there. I contacted a lawyer, using my hospital's legal aid program, and filed a claim for my stolen songs and the fraudulent loans. The case hit the tabloids, exposing Julian and Carla's scheme. Their marriage unraveled under scrutiny. Carla left him when the money dried up. Julian's career tanked, his record deal canceled. Back at the hospital, I found purpose in the pediatric ward, where kids like Mia, a 10-year-old with leukemia, reminded me why I became a nurse. Her laughter, even on her worst days, was a mirror of my own resilience. One night, Lucas stopped by, his firefighter jacket slung over his shoulder. "Heard about your ex," he said, a half smile on his face. "You're tougher than you look, Emily." I blushed, my words still clumsy. "You saved me that night." He shrugged, but his eyes softened. "Just doing my job. But you saved yourself, you know." We started talking more, sharing stories over hospital coffee. He told me about his sister, lost to a fire he couldn't stop, and how he became a firefighter to make a difference. I told him about Julian, the crash, the silence. For the first time, I wasn't afraid to be seen. Lucas wasn't like Julian. There were no grand gestures, no songs written in my name. Instead, he showed up, bringing Mia coloring books, helping me move into a new apartment in Silver Lake, listening when my words faltered. Our first date was at a taco truck, the city's lights twinkling around us. He didn't promise me the stars. He offered me truth, steady and real. A year later, I stood on a small stage at a hospital fundraiser, my voice shaky but mine. I spoke about my journey, the crash, the silence, and the kids who gave me hope. Mia sat in the front row, her bald head covered in a bright scarf, clapping louder than anyone. Lucas was there too, his quiet strength grounding me. I didn't sing, but I shared a poem I'd written in rehab. Words Julian never touched. The crowd's applause felt like healing. My lawsuit won. The court awarded me damages for the stolen songs and cleared my name from the loans. I used the money to start a music therapy program at the hospital, helping kids like Mia express their pain through art. Julian faded into obscurity. Last seen busking on Hollywood Boulevard, his guitar case empty. Lucas and I grew closer. Our love built on trust, not illusions. We'd walk along the LA River, talking about dreams that didn't need fame to shine. "You're my hero, Emily," he said one night, his hand in mine. I smiled, my voice steady now. "You're mine too." Today, I'm still at Cedars-Sinai. My scrub's a badge of survival. Mia's in remission, her drawings decorating my office. Lucas and I are planning a trip to Big Sur, just us in the open road. Los Angeles still hums with dreams, but mine are simpler now. A life where love is honest, where my voice matters. Did you like my story? Comment where you're reading from and hit that like button if you've ever found strength in silence. Subscribe for more tales of rising from the ashes. Thank you for listening.